Okay, well, let's get started. I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. The title of this webinar is Why Enterprise Data Projects Fail. To give you a little bit of background about why we're here, just in doing our normal marketing fun stuff, and I see people are still logging in, so thank you. I'll just keep joining, and we're gonna keep rolling here. We were doing some research internally, looking at why do data projects fail, coming up with ideas for content, and I came across this article with loads of statistics about really high failure rates with data science projects, from VentureBeat to Gartner, Gartner again, IDC, tons and tons of statistics that show that this super high failure rate, 80% and above, seems to be kind of like the industry standard. And when I say industry, that's across all different kinds of companies, all different sizes of companies. And I highly encourage you guys to read this article. I think it's really enlightening. And the question here is why? Why do enterprise data projects fail at such a high rate? And there's lots of articles, there's lots of kind of blueprints for success, but we thought maybe the best way to explain it would be to invite the people who actually represent the different sort of players in big data projects and in data science projects to a webinar to discuss and to kind of open up and understand what are those challenges internally and what is the blueprint for success in their own words. So quickly, why Rivery? We have a very interesting story. We were founded by three guys who spent their entire careers in BI consulting, helping some of the biggest companies reach their potential with data. But realize that really there's a layer of technology missing between the extracting and loading and transformation, which takes place over the workflows, and really helping companies and data engineers and analysts become the conductors of their data. And there's got to be a better way with technology to start winning with data. And the problem is now with everything moving to cloud, there's this huge tsunami of data, and being able to connect the data sources is only one of the hurdles. What's the bigger issue, and you can see on my slide here, is the complex operations and management, and very hard to define a single source of truth. So what Rivery has done is we've built the end-to-end data management workflow, DataOps platform to solve the new mission. The mission has shifted for everybody working with data and give companies back control over their data, to deliver insights whenever, wherever, and to really become the masters of their data orchestration. That's my 20-second pitch about Rivery. And now let's talk about who we have here representing the different sort of viewpoints of data projects. So on the left, I have Naomi Miller, who's the head of data engineering from ZX Ventures, part of the AB InBev Anheuser-Busch group. She's going to really represent, and from her title, you can see data engineering, the sort of engineering IT side, really the owner of the infrastructure of the data. In the middle, we have Yariv Zur, who's head of product for Anodot, which is doing some very cool things with smart alerts, AI monitoring, who's going to kind of represent the sort of analyst and data modeling side of data science side of the equation. And also on the far right of my slide is Ben Flammang, who is our SVP of Sales at Rivery, but previously he was at Bring, a very big logistics company, and a search engine that does a good job competing with Bing most days, called Google. I think most people have heard of it, who has been in very senior executive roles representing kind of the business side, the people who are actually the consumers of the data. And I thought it'd be nice to create an open forum sort of discussion. I will guide you guys through it with three very different viewpoints about having kind of the same mission and the same objectives, yet a very high failure rate because of many different factors, which we'll dive into. But I hate to talk over people. So why don't I turn over the stage right now to Naomi to introduce yourself and talk about ZX Ventures and AB InBev.
Thanks, Ari. I'm Naomi. Nice to meet all of you. Thanks for joining. ZX Ventures is the venture arm for Anheuser-Busch, so AB InBev. I currently work in the New York office, and I'm the head of data engineering. So I'm responsible for the infrastructure and the data integrations that we do for the analytics and tech team. My background is in software engineering. So I started as a software engineer, and then I moved into more of the big data space. And now, like I said, I'm leading data engineering at ZX. And that's pretty much me.
Okay, very succinct, but very good. I love the slide about disrupting it before it's disrupted from the outside. Really nice attitude and sort of mission for the
Definitely.
venture.
Yeah.
Next, I would like to introduce Yariv. Or Yariv, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ari. So I'm going to try to keep up to Naomi's standard of being brief. Hi, everyone. My name is Yariv. I'm the head of product for Anodot. Anodot is a 7-year-old startup. We focus on business monitoring. So we help our customers identify issues in their business and trying to do that by taking massive amounts of data, which they all just, the amount of data keeps growing, as Ari mentioned before. And we're using AI to constantly monitor and correlate all of these metrics and produce real-time alerts and forecasts. And what we do is that we collect the data, analyze it, detect anomalies, then identify correlations for root cause and enable you to give feedback and act. And if you can move to the last one, just to give a point, and I think this is a good segue to what we're going to talk about today. This is how a typical Anodot implementation looks like. We handle something almost, I think even today, around 40 billion data points per day. And then you as the business user or the analyst want to be in a situation where you get 1 alert per day and not 40 billion. And the way to do that and the way to handle all of this is through the Anodot algorithms and AI that we're using. And we can skip this one. This is just
okay.
Kind of
but
some
nice,
of our customers.
Nice roster of customers doing it, some big data stuff there. So very cool to see. And next, Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm the head of sales at Rivery. I'm about 3 months into this role here. Big data and BI is a little bit new to me, kind of on the technology side. My background is really, I held different sales roles and strategy and even finance roles at a number of startups as well as big companies. Ari mentioned Bring and Google. Also did some time at American Express, Meetup.com, Ernst & Young, Cablevision. So a lot of different industries, a lot of different types of experiences. But the one thing that was similar across all of them, and as I started to look for new roles, the pieces kind of started to fall in place, and I realized, one of the challenges that was common across all those different experiences I had was I always needed data as a business user, and it was always a complete pain in the neck to get it, with bottlenecks and confusion and mistrust. So I was really excited to find Rivery and start working with a company that had a tool to help solve that problem. So.
Great. So let me hop back into my first slide, and then I hope to use this as kind of the match to ignite the conversation. Data is really hard to come by. Yet like almost 90%, according to Electronic, of enterprise data goes unanalyzed. So I would say to each of you, to my guests here today, what are those major infrastructure challenges that you see that almost inherently that this is going to be a really tough project? This is going to, have a high failure rate. Like, what are those challenges that you face? And maybe we'll go like reverse direction, or we'll start with Yariv this time in the middle. You wanna? kick it off?
Sure. So I think one of the things which we've seen, and I've alluded to that before, is that people and businesses have gotten very good at collecting data. There are tons of tools out there which are now able to instrument almost everything you do, whether it's web, mobile, business KPIs, everything. So the amount of data is just growing, and it's become very easy to collect those. But then the big question is, okay, how do I find the kind of the needle in the haystack? But here we're talking about multiple needles in multiple haystacks, because think about it, you've got, we're looking at, our customers, each one has multiple data sources. You've got your marketing data, you've got your performance data, like APM systems, you've got your IT data. I need a way to kind of get all of those into one place and start sifting through them. And anyone is going to say, well, why didn't you just do kind of an integration project to align on all the data? Those never work. I mean, you spend a lot of time in doing this data alignment, and by the moment you're done, it's already outdated because someone installed a new system and it's not aligned. So people are doing data pools and data lakes and pool houses, I even heard now. And this is one of the biggest issues which we see in projects, just the sheer amount of data where you don't even know where to start analyzing it.
Naomi, from a data engineering perspective, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that a big problem is it kind of, especially when starting maybe a new enterprise data project, where do you start, right? Like there's the entire company worth of data. Where do you start collecting? Where do you start serving the data to the analysts to be analyzed, or for the data scientists to start building models? So what I always say is try to think of one kind of end-to-end life cycle that you can then iterate on. So what is the one key piece of data or key insight that the business needs that they can start making decisions on and start from there? So I understand that may be a very small set of the data, but let's grab that data, make sure we're delivering it. It's reliable, it's secure, whatever you need, and then serve it to the business so that they can start making decisions, understand how to use the data, and then iterate and grow from there. So instead of like a big bang approach, trying to get everything together, like Yariv was talking about, start small. Focus on marketing, focus on the consumer, focus on finance data, whatever it is that you want to focus on, and go from there. I think that's one thing that we did over at ZX. We have a lot of ventures that we're supporting, right? So we're building analytics for a lot of small startups. And what we did was we built kind of 3 core models and iterated them across all the businesses so we could move fast when we had a new business that we needed to support or a new set of data to integrate, and build like replicable models and replicable integrations from an engineering and infrastructure standpoint. That would be my advice to help on this.
Okay, very good. On that, you work with a lot of startups, Naomi. Like, how do you get started when there is no data? Or
Great question.
Is that like, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I think the biggest thing for me is even before you start figuring out how to collect the data, make sure everyone's on board. Get the business on board, get your stakeholders, senior leadership. Are you all aligned on why you want to start collecting data and what you're going to do with it and what the success criteria looks like? I think that's why, a lot of data is either used incorrectly or not building the correct insights for the business because there's no alignment across between IT and business. And if you can build a journey that everyone wants to go on together with your data, I think you'll have better success. So start there, really everyone align and marching towards the same goal. And then again, figure out what's the questions that you want to answer, and what data do you need to answer those questions? And again, start small. So what's, 3 or 5 questions to answer, but make sure also that those questions are going to drive an impact. So cool, we know the performance of our sales, but what decisions can we make off of that, or what changes can we make off of that? So choose impactful questions to answer, not just what's happened in the past, but what can we change about the future of our business by getting data and insights. I think that's where you start, and then you start building integrations. Obviously, choosing the right tools is a really big factor as well. But for me, infrastructure is always changing and always growing. And, so choosing a tool that works in the moment is great. As long as it can scale and can adapt as the business needs, then I think you'll be okay. As long as it's, a solid foundation.
And Ben, as a business user, how do you sort of like get over like these initial challenges in getting a data project up and running?
Yeah, I had a really interesting experience at Cablevision. This was several years ago, but I was in the marketing department, worked on a lot of strategic projects. They have a lot of data, right? They're measuring everything in the kind of New York metro area, or Altice as it's known now. Kind of early in my time there, we had a big bottleneck with getting data. We were constantly looking at how different programs, marketing initiatives, different bundles, how everything impacted attrition, spend, usage. I ran the loyalty program there for a while, so we were constantly looking for data. It was constantly ad hoc, and a lot of times we would get ad hoc requests from the C-suite. And we had one guy in the entire 100-person marketing department. He was great, but he was a bottleneck. Like he could get the data, but he needed time. He always needed a couple days. He needed to go talk to IT if he needed to connect different different data sets. So that was a real challenge. Later on in my time there, Cablevision at the time actually launched addressable advertising. So this was a pretty big strategic effort, which was, really being able to watch the address or send ads, video ads, TV ads to specific people, specific demographics, so not everyone sees the same ad, and then look and see kind of what the impact is there on their purchase of those products, et cetera. So again, pulling a lot of data together. The difference was that was a very strategic project. We spent months ahead of time internally and with consultants aligning on what are the questions we want to ask, what's the data that we want to capture, what reports do we want to build. And that actually ended up being very successful. We got amazing insights on that.
Very interesting. So it's interesting. In marketing, there's this philosophy by a very smart guy, Simon Sinek, who talks about start with the why when you build your branding. Like, why are you doing this? That will be the motivation for everything kind of behind your brand. And maybe with data projects, it's start with the what. What are you looking to actually measure? Because that's like one thing I think I heard from all three of you is like, set a very concrete sort of like, what can data help me do, or what can data help me answer? At the beginning, and it sounds like one of the best ways to overcome failure and infrastructure is to have a very well-defined project from the get-go. And maybe that's it. Maybe because people think that there's so much data out there that, just they hope to find insights in the ether, but it's really never that simple and never that easy. Let's roll into this next sort of question, the perception conflict. So I moved the 88% of enterprise data goes unanalyzed, but there's a reason I think that we're collecting it. On the other side, only 14% of enterprise employees feel like they have open access to data and analytics. And I would say, okay, so they're asking for all this data, but yet they don't feel like they have open access. So I would interpret that as being like, how do we go from like data to insights? And I don't even know, like, is it a language issue? It is a perception issue. Is it an access issue? Why don't we do reverse order this time, and we'll go Naomi's first, and then we can go Ben and then Yariv.
Yeah, this is a good question. And I would even take it one step further, data to insights to actions. So, how do you build that whole life cycle? And a term that I've been, it's probably another buzzword that I've been hearing lately is this idea of reverse ETL. So ETL, which most of you might know, is the process of, extract, load, transform, bringing data into your data warehouse. But what is reverse ETL is after you've brought data into your warehouse and built your insights, then what can you do to automate and take that data back into another platform to impact your marketing campaigns or impact, your product lifecycle. So I think that's kind of the step that a lot of companies might be at is, cool, we have this data. We have maybe some nice dashboards, but what can we do with it now? How can we take steps to make changes and make business decisions on it? And I think another factor of that too is, again, I alluded to this earlier, but bring the business with you on the journey. So as you're building insights or building reports, does the business know where these reports are? Do the business users, do they know what to do with it or how to tweak it to their needs? Are there tools out there that they can say, cool, this report is helpful, but I need to tweak it in this way for me? And can they easily do that and easily access it? I think that, just like, years ago, we didn't have, fast internet and Google, and we didn't use that every day in our life. I think now we're going to need to use data every day in our life, and the entire business will start to be data literate and learn how to use data, how to access it. And I think it's with tools that are easy to, or that provide easier access for the business users.
Cool. Ben, what do you say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as a, my role as a sales leader, right? So I have a team of salespeople, and there's, each of them have data and how they're performing, and, the marketing team, I want to know kind of how they're performing and connect the dots on what inbound leads are being touched and how fast and all this. So it's important for me to have that in a summed up view. I actually had an AE, this was several months ago, my previous role, tell me it's all in Salesforce. I was asking them questions about, because I couldn't, the reporting was kind of not really what I needed. So I had to have weekly calls with my AEs and really kind of stay in tune on a one-on-one basis with, 15 account executives at that point on what's going on, because I couldn't rely on the reports. And I had one of the AEs say, why do we have these conversations? Like, it's all in Salesforce. Go look in Salesforce. I was like, yeah, it is. But I can't spend all day going and looking through Salesforce. So it needs to be surfaced in a way that was usable for me. And it wasn't, and it just caused me to waste so much time.
That one thing to add to that, Ben, I think that's why it's, when you're building like a data organization, having people like your analysts that are embedded in the business or embedded in those teams that are using the data to really understand why do you need this set of data, or what are you looking at to really kind of preempt what you're going to ask for and build it for you almost before you ask, right? Understand your pain points. And I think that helps. And I'm starting to see that too, like business or companies are starting to embed their data teams like into their product teams or whatever. So I think that can help that pain point there, because that is what it is. We build from like the engineering side, we build what we think you want, but without really being in your day-to-day. I think having that experience and having that knowledge helps build really what you need, not what we think you need.
Yeah, there's been like the evolution of a role in sales called RevOps or Sales Ops, which is specifically like a data person on the sales team. Right.
That's awesome.
I've been doing startup marketing for 20 years now with some very big, mostly ad tech startups. And I always used to say, like 17, 18 years ago, the most important hire that I make is a great designer. Because if I know my product, they will make everything I do look better and look faster. And
Mhm.
nowadays, I always say like the most important role that I hire is somebody who can give me access as a data analyst, and give me access to the insights to know, like even like for this webinar, like how effective is it for Rivery? What are the right channels? We will reuse this and use it as an on-demand webinar. How much do I invest in reaching a new audience and all of that is data driven. And really that's been a major shift, I would say, in marketing. In addition to like the HubSpots and the marketing automation platforms, giving everybody the ability to like email 10,000 people, which is 10,000 data points. And, back to Yariv's scalability issue, but we haven't heard from Yariv yet. So tell me,
Yeah,
like,
so
yep.
so many points to touch upon.
Yeah.
I'll start with the last one, which you mentioned, Ali. We see, when we look at these segments of users, which are using our product, we see lots of, let's call them XOps, right? So we have our own DataOps person, and he's no longer just doing, Salesforce. He's looking at DataOps. How do we create the whole pipeline of getting the data from one place to another and make sure that we monitor them correctly. But then I see a lot of our customers where we have FinOps now. So the FinOps person is the person in the finance department who's looking at budget, but since a lot of the budgets are now very, cloud-based and technical, so they're doing the operations around cost. And even that is becoming super data intensive. So you've got all these XOps. It's not just marketing ops. It's now product ops, and data ops and FinOps. And we see all of these roles requiring access to data in vast amounts to find the issues, before they become a problem. So that was my first point. I also want to continue what Naomi said about the insight to action. When Anodot started, we were very much focused on detection, right? We will find the anomaly, your drop in sales, or spike in cost, or one of your partners, their API broke down, and we will find it faster and better than everyone. And I still think that's true. Of course, I'm not super objective here. What we see now is that we're evolving. We call this the detection to remediation. So don't just tell me, hey, there's a drop in sales in, US East Coast, but also enable me the right actions which I need to take, and help me find the root cause, right? Because maybe the drop in sales is tied to some technical issue, and one of your servers dropped. If you're just looking at Salesforce, you will see drop in sales, but it will take you, days and maybe weeks to identify why. But if you're looking at Salesforce, and the same time you get the data, I have a technical issue here, which once was just, in the realm of IT, salespeople never knew. Your chance of taking an action upon this or remediate the action is significantly higher. And I think this is what people and companies are now looking for from their monitoring and data infrastructure.
Spoken like a true data scientist, taking insights to action, to detection, to remediation. I love that level of sophistication. I hear a lot of like nice things in common here, and it seems like there is a lot of agreement, in that like, even when you go from data to insights, it's really about having insights that allow you to take actions. What about like trust in data? How do you make sure that like across the organization that they, going from, I would say, from data to insight, it is a gap to close. But I would say, going from insight to action requires a lot of trust in the actual data and insight. How do you go about building that trust in the data and like, making sure that you have the highest quality data there?
Maybe I'll start with that, if
ahead.
that's okay.
Yep, go ahead,
I
please.
think in most of the cases which we've seen, there was almost never an issue where the data was wrong. Most of the time, the reason people don't trust it because it was not relevant. that, here on the slide, you say only 14% have open access to data. I would amend that to open access to the right data, right? So let's say I whatever BI system or here's an open access to Google Data Studio and BigQuery, and you can get whatever you want. How do you get the data which is important for your job? So Ben runs a sales operation, and if I give him all the IT and APM data, that doesn't help him. He just tunes out. And we see that especially since we focus our business on alerting. If I send you false positives and I tell you, hey, there's a drop in sales, but it's not really a significant drop, and you just got 10 of these alerts, you just create a rule in Outlook or Gmail, whatever you're using, move to archive, and you never look at that again. And then you lose trust in data, not because it's wrong, because it's irrelevant. I think this is the biggest challenge which we need to solve in getting you the right data and not just that it's factually correct.
Very good insight. Ben or Naomi, do you have anything to add? Naomi, looks like you.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. I think this 14%, like Yariv said, is 14% have the data they want or the data they need. It's that the rest, or not the rest, but probably a larger chunk of the employees have the data, but it's not relevant to them. And I think that's where trust is kind of twofold. One, from the infrastructure side and the data engineering side, definitely it needs to be, reliable, secure, make sure the right people have the right access, make sure that, we're getting the data at the right speed. Is it taking too long to get to the business? So there's that level of trust of what we're delivering is correct and accurate and timely. But again, like Yariv was saying, the second level of trust is you're listening to what I want and you're delivering the data that I need to get the job done or to make a decision. So yeah, I definitely agree there.
Yeah, I'm just want to add something. I've just been thinking here, of the situations that I've had where I didn't trust data, and there's been a number of them. And the common kind of thread, it all went back to, I'd start to look at the data and I knew, because I had my finger on the pulse pretty well of what my sales teams were doing or what, the marketing team, and this didn't make sense to what I thought reality was. And it always went back to, the reports were built and the data was collected. Some were off in left field, like someone made a decision on how to collect the data. And we weren't aligned. We never even talked. They just kind of showed up and, here's the data, right? We never even talked about it. And the problem is once you get to a point where you don't trust the data, right? You get weird data a couple times and it's really hard to get out of that hole, right? You almost need to go back and start from scratch, and at least in the examples that I'm thinking of right now.
So let me roll into this question here. And we talked, I think, and I'd like to dig a little bit deeper about how do you organize a team? How can all three of you, if you were in the same company, row the boat in the same direction? I hear so much agreement and alignment, but is the future of data having a true DataOps team that's centralized? Is it just around the infrastructure that's centralized and we embed the analysts in the different departments? How do you see the enterprises building around data? And I would say as a second part of that question, how do you make a data literate organization? Which is, if you think about Ben, you're in the business of selling data now, and Yariv, you're in the business of delivering impactful insights, and Naomi, you're really managing the infrastructure there. So much work and so many resources, but how do we align, huge enterprises around the data, around the insights, around taking actions together? What is a good structure in your mind or your opinion? Who would like to start this time? I'll toss it up.
I can start. I think where I've seen challenges in the past, and now I see challenges here, with our customers is, when there's silos, right, between the data engineers and the data analysts. And where we've seen successful projects, and I've seen successful projects, is where you know, they're in the same organization, right? They have there's not this silo. Remember, I talked about Cablevision a little bit, right? Where we had IT who owned all the data, right? And then we had our one single business analyst who needed to go fetch the data, and he needed to go like walk downstairs and sit down at a table and draw it out. Like it was like a Chinese wall between the two, and that does not lead to success. I think the opposite of that is the direction that you need to go in.
Yeah, agreed. We had some success with having our analysts, our data scientists, and our data engineers supporting like the same set of ventures, whether they were all e-commerce ventures or, you know, on-trade ventures. And therefore they had similar problems they were solving, and they would all talk together and understand what are they building, what insights, what data are they collecting? Again, is it replicable? Can we create the same, you know, integrations for the businesses and reuse code or whatever we've built to increase speed? But again, understanding the business problem, the analysts sat in the business and would attend, you know, their sprint planning or, you know, their business meetings and understand what problems they're facing or what's top of mind for those leaders, and then bring it back to the team and say, I need this data because they're going to ask about this next week. This is where they're going. This is what they're thinking about. So I think really, like Ben said, breaking down those silos is a huge piece, and really communicating and understanding from both directions. Of course, the business should understand the data and what they're looking at and what we're delivering, but also the engineers should understand the business and understand the problems that they're going through. And when I say engineers, I mean analysts and data scientists, kind of all in one. But yeah.
Yariv, what would you like to add?
For us, it's a bit different because we're in a way replacing a bunch of data scientists at businesses, both because they're a very valuable resource, and we want to enable our customers to, you know, to focus their data scientists on the things which are differentiating and not the commodity. So if your data scientists are sitting and analyzing your AWS cost, coming up with algorithms to identify those, then you're not focusing on the things which differentiate you as a business. So in a sense, we're kind of a data scientist as a service. Furthermore, once you have especially a high growth business, right? So you don't know today what you're going to need tomorrow, and you need to be able to grow with these data models as you go along. Like Naomi mentioned, you need to focus on one problem at a time. And if you build now a proficiency which is very dedicated to solving one problem, then for the next one, it's going to be harder to replicate. So we're trying to give an infrastructure where for each new set of KPIs that you decide to mention, you can use the same set of tools. You don't have to reinvent the wheel each and every project. And the projects which are successful that we see, at least, but you know, some of our customers have been with us for more than 5 years now, are the ones where they started with one use case, and then they said, okay, this is working, this brings value, and now let's introduce you to another team. Now let's, you know, going along, versus the big bang approach that, you know, let's monitor everything, which usually fails pretty fast.
Okay. We are closing on our 45-minute time limit here. So I want to give everybody just a chance to say some concluding remarks. And let's put a positive spin on this, I would say. Like, what do you think, like, because we started like, why do data projects fail? And I would like to hear from 3 very successful people, like, what, in your opinion, is a good blueprint for success, or like one key takeaway for all the audience here to remember, like, this is going to put you on the right path. And I think we've touched on some of these, but this is your chance to really hammer it home. Ben, you want to start this time?
Sure. I keep coming back to the why, the planning and really, putting forethought into the data project that you're doing versus just executing and providing data.
Okay. Naomi?
Yeah, agreed. I think I like to say that there's kind of 3 pillars to successful data projects. One is change management. Is everyone marching towards the same goal? Does everyone, like you said, Ben, understand the why? Why are we doing this? What's going to make it successful? Is the IT side understanding the business needs, and is the business understanding what IT is going to deliver or what the data team is going to deliver to make it successful? I think secondly is, do we have the right people in place to do this project? So are we missing any gaps? Are we having data scientists do data engineering work, or vice versa? And then thirdly, I think is, and I may be a little biased here, but having the correct infrastructure. So do you have the right tools in place? Is it scalable? Is it reliable? Are you able to get the data to the business at the right speed that they need it, that they can actually do something with it? So I think those are the biggest things. Is everyone on board? Do you have the right people? And then do you have the right tools?
Awesome. Thank you. And Yariv?
So first of all, whatever Naomi said, I couldn't have said it better. I would add maybe just one thing. With the evolution of data, so the amount of data, there are tons of good tools there. The biggest enemy, which we see, is not enemy, but the biggest issue which we see is usually the kind of a homegrown projects. Hey, we have developers, why don't we build this on our own? And sure, that may work, for one use case, maybe 2 use case. Once you plan for scale, and if you're a high growth company, you're just going to find out that it's not worth it. You're not focusing on your product, you're focusing on building tools that someone else already built, or creating a proficiency that someone else already has, and that's their day job, so to say. So fully agree with what both Naomi and Ben said, but I would also say that your kind of biggest threat here is the tendency, especially for tech companies, to try to build this on your own, which usually doesn't scale.
Very, very good insights from everybody. I would like to just say thank you to all of our attendees. At Rivery, we help lots of brands with their extract, load, transform, orchestrate sort of infrastructure, including Naomi, longtime Rivery user, and we're partnering with Anodot. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. A big thank you to our panelists for jumping on the call. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. They learned a few lessons, took away some insights, and have just a wonderful week, everybody.